What heals all wounds is learning about yourself, learning what the value of the wounds are and were, learning how to not repeat the things that wound you. Time will not just do that. It'd be like saying, I fell, I got this big piece of metal in my leg, and I just put a couple band-aids on it. And I'm just going to go on. It's not going to be pretty.
There's so much like chronic pain, and then there's depression. There's all sorts of things because they've never really dealt with the pain that they've been through in life. My mission is to empower women to fearlessly embrace and live their authentic lives. No matter how dark life gets, you can rise again. But rising doesn't start with hustle. It starts with self-worth, with learning to treat yourself with compassion instead of criticism, with setting boundaries instead of betraying yourself, with remembering that your value was never tied to your achievements, your past mistakes, or anyone else's approval. Knowing your worth sounds simple, but it can actually take years of self-doubt, comparison, and even self-sabotage to truly believe it. Because worth isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. And today's guest is living proof of what happens when you finally do. Her story reminds us that no matter how far you have fallen, how long you have doubted yourself, or how much you've given away, your worth was never lost, only waiting to be reclaimed. In this episode, I sit down with Dr. Nicki J. Monti, a private practice psychotherapist known for her work on reality TV, including Keeping Up with the Kardashians and The Millionaire Matchmaker. Behind the professional success is a deeply human story. Dr. Nicki, as she goes by, opens up about a life shaped by childhood trauma, addiction, violence, divorce, widowhood experiences that once convinced her she wasn't worthy of love or happiness. Through radical self-healing and inner transformation, she learned to rebuild her life from the inside out and ultimately found peace, purpose, and love again. She shares her journey with raw honesty in her memoir, The Divine Traumedy of Dr. Nicki J, a true grind tale, and a powerful reminder that no matter how dark the chapter gets, healing is always possible. This conversation is about resilience, self-worth, and the courage it takes to choose yourself even after everything you've been through. A must listen for anyone rising after hardship. Dr. Nicki, welcome to my show. Welcome to Female Fluence.
Thank you so much.
I'm so
It's exciting to be here. I'm always struggling with my technical challenges, so I'm always excited by a breakthrough into actual connection.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, we're excited. I'm excited to have you here and just really looking forward to diving into your whole story and your experiences. And I think my listeners are going to be really inspired. So let's start with telling us a little bit about your childhood and your early life and some of the experiences that shaped you that were both painful and powerful.
That's a wide question,
That's a big question, fully
I
loaded
don't even
question where
know
we're diving right in.
I'd have to look at the how long the book is, but I think it's what 350 pages or something. It's and and it took 4 years to write. So it's all in there if people really want to know. But the bottom line, to just give the bottom
Yeah.
line of my experiences, I always felt, and I had good proof for the feeling, that I was an unlovable throwaway. The easy part of the story is that I was sent to boarding school for 11 of my 12 years, starting in second grade, that my father left when I was 4, and a lot of other kinds of things. The bottom line, though, is, and spoiler alert, what I learned about all of that, because freedom is in the learning,
Hmm.
freedom is in the learning. And what I learned about all that is that none of it had anything to do with me. I wasn't sent away because I deserved to be sent away. My father didn't leave because I deserved to be left. Some of the some of the more brutal and difficult relationships I chose to have, and my lifestyle that was so dangerous and dark that I chose to have, out of the idea that that's all I was worth and that was my whole value. But I chose to have those. But it wasn't because I was telling myself truth that I was unworthy. It was because I was telling myself the lie that I was unlearning. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is we make up this story about ourselves based on some pretty good evidence, usually, that we're going to be forgotten, that we were dismissible, we're lovable, whatever our deal is, and then we double down on our story. And so I'm going to find all the people who will prove me right. I'm going to find the worst people to partner with, or I'm going to find the worst jobs, or I'm going to go down the dark alleys of the world and prove to myself that I was right, and we always will get what we have is what we expect to have. Isn't that terrible? What we have is what we expect to have.
Yeah.
If we expect to have, I just was talking about that to a couple. This woman was complaining about all the terrible things happening in her life, and this person's mad at her, and that situation's horrible, and people are coming after her. And I said, "You're the centerpiece of that story. You expect that, and that's what you have found." Oh, people hate it when I say that at first, until they realize how much freedom that gives us. Self responsibility gives us freedom. Because if I'm responsible for the terrible choices, I can be responsible for the elegant choices. If I can choose to live in grime, I can also choose to live in grace. And so, my story, the story is less important. I mean, the details are fun because they're salacious and we love that ickiness, love the story with a little too much sex, a little too much rock and roll, a little too many drugs.
I love your
But
energy, by the way.
But, but the truth is that our stories are not what connects us. What connects us are our feelings. My sad, my mad, my lonely, my pain, my grumpiness, my fury. Those are the things that connect us. And so when people hear my specific stories, I'm a recovered drug addict and sex addict and alcohol addict and food addict. And, I never met an addiction I didn't like. I love to say the thing about I once had carrot anemia. I ate too many carrots and you turn jaundice when you turn
Oh my
to, if one
goodness.
carrot is good, 30 carrots are better. And
That's one
just,
I've never heard.
yeah, you turn jaundice. People were stopping me in the street. What's wrong with your color? It's happening. And it wasn't a racial thing. It was, it's kind of crazy, but more is better. I was
Yep.
always the more is better, and all the more that I wanted that I didn't know how to allow was love. The more that I wanted was love, and the problem is that love from the outside never works. It's love from the inside that
Inside.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's everything you said right now was so powerful, and just that freedom to choose. It's like, you want to live, gracefully, or you want to have a horrible, live in the grime and have a horrible life. People don't realize that, but I've noticed that with a lot of people who are always like, you meet that person who's negative and is just worried and is oh well, and it's just constantly that's what they surround themselves with. It's like that energy. They're in a bad mood. Well, that happened to me. My boss was horrible. My friend is horrible. My husband's horrible, and it's like that's what they're choosing because they want to be in that horrible, negative energy, that just surrounds them constantly, and they take that everywhere with them.
Yeah. It's not really that they want
Yeah.
to,
I don't think
it's that
they don't know better.
yeah, they don't know better.
Yeah.
They don't know that how have power to have be different. I'm with a lot of people who say they want love. And they don't have love, and they have not had love, deep and whatever. And I always say the same thing to them. You want to want love, but you don't yet want love because it ain't that hard to find, in fact. I mean, yeah, maybe it won't be the perfect love, but everybody, I used to send people to SeaWorld. I'm in California. I don't know where you are, but
Me
I used
too.
to
Yeah.
send people, oh yeah, I used to send people down to SeaWorld, so the magic of Zoom, right? Talk to people all over the world. But anyway, down to SeaWorld. And I said, I want you to go down and look at all the unlikely people who are partnered with each other. Don't tell me you can't find love. You have to be loved to find love, though. You have to really want it and get over your fear that it's going to be devastating or, it won't work out. And, things always work, what they say, things always work out in the end. And if they haven't worked out, it's not the end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the other thing I think you've talked about is now that you're talking about like love and being true, is we tend to like really want to protect ourselves instead of opening up. So why is vulnerability, why is it so important, even though it feels so scary, and it really
Agree. I
connects us to that
know.
deeper love? But
Yeah.
why is that so hard to do to become?
It really is the pivotal question of the day, isn't it? Why is vulnerability so scary? I think, first of all, we misunderstand what vulnerability means. We think it means, a lot of people think it means we're weak. It,
Hmm.
it means that we're offering ourselves up on a platter, and now you've got all this information to use against me. We think it means that we're in some sort of servitude, that it means we're servants to
Hmm.
whoever we're giving the vulnerability to. We have all, I mean, people can make their own list about what they think vulnerability means. I've worked with a lot of people over the years who stuff their tears and hold them and control them and shut down. And gosh, tears are our solution in a lot of ways. They're a solution, they're a watery solution, and they're the solution for all that ails us. Not just constant crying, but, crying on point, being sad and grief stricken about these pains and problems that we have or believe we have. But so vulnerability for me is a authentic moment to moment conversation from the heart. So to me, you and I, Pearl, have an intention, or at least certainly I have an intention, I'll assume you do too, to have a vulnerable conversation together.
Yes.
So I'm going to say the things that I always say about the book. I'm saying the things out loud that nobody wants to talk about, right? I am saying the things out loud. Now, what makes it possible for me to do that without fear? Which is not to say that I never feel fear about a deep vulnerability. I'll give you an example in a minute, but uh, I can say it because I know that vulnerability is the strongest position we can ever take. Why? Because whatever you think or feel or take away from what I say is your stuff, not mine. I'm okay with where I've gotten to, all the terrible, terrible, crappy decisions I've made along the way because I learned something
Hmm. Right.
from them. I'm okay with that. And if you think, oh my God, what do you mean you're a drug and alcohol addict and a food addict and a sex addict and a work addict and a what? And you ate 40 carrots? What if you say that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my whole life? Well, then I'm sorry that that's the most disgusting thing. And I get it. I get why you might feel that way. But I'm okay with it because they led me to be the person who can sit here with you today. They are the foundation,
Right.
and they let me learn compassion and understanding and empathy and all the things that I dance with on a daily basis. And so I'm okay with being visible. People talk a lot about transparency. That's a big word. It's being transparent. Come on. The people who talk about transparency are very seldom transparent. The people who say it when I'm talking to them, let me be honest. I'm like, what have you been the rest of the time? That's so suspicious. Really?
It's like
Wait,
alarm goes off.
before the alarm goes off. Oh, this your moment of honesty? Okay, I thought we were doing the whole deal. So vulnerability is a kind of rich, depthful honesty. For me, vulnerability, again, is not about the story. It's about the feelings underneath the story. So people can be honest about, I mean, I've heard so many secrets over my 40 years of doing this, and I'm yet to hear a secret that really bowls me over because the secret is never the point. It's the feeling
Hmm.
about the secret. I had a woman once who was so embarrassed to say that she had been, I mean, more than once, but anyway, that she had been married twice, married and divorced twice. She would die before she would reveal that secret to most people. And I'm like, yeah, please, I got three. You know what I'm saying? I got two marriages and a death. I don't know. What's the point? So, but also, and I don't make fun of people, but I'm saying these secrets
Hmm.
don't need to be secrets. And if people love you, including all the nonsense you've done or all the flaws you reveal, that's real connection. If they don't, bye bye. Don't let the
Exactly.
door hit you on the way out, right? Um, but there is this idea of the story. We want the better story. We used to, I forget what he was called, that terrible person on TV where all the stories, the dirty stories would come out in the course of they looked for the worst stories of
W-
people
Was it like
stealing
Jerry
money.
Springer?
Jerry Springer, just dreadful. No solutions, no
Yeah.
recognition of the pain of it really in a deep way. Half of it was probably made up. I don't know.
Yes, yes.
But this is this passed for revelation, and it's not revelation. Revelation is, wow, I made these choices because I really wanted to hurt myself because I thought that's all I was worth. And so I wanted you to help me. So I picked you because you would hurt me, and then I would feel the hurt, and then I knew that I was in the right place. That's vulnerability.
Wow.
That's honesty.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the real deal stuff, you know. And the stories really are less important. They really reflect the way we feel always. They reflect our choices reflect who we see ourselves to be. And again, it's very powerful. It sounds awful, but it's empowering because if I know that I'm the centerpiece of every story I tell, then why don't I tell the story of resilience and the story of love lost and the story of dreams dashed and the story of loss and the story of gain and win and triumph, you know? I could tell all those stories. Where do I choose to look? Right. Now, I also think that the whole picture is the most interesting picture. I don't think there's any up without a down, any in without an out. So my breaks and breakdowns and cracks and fissures are all just as valuable as my wins. And in fact, every successful person in the world will tell you that their success stands on the shoulders of all their failures.
Yes. Yeah.
So we learn from
Yes.
doing it well, 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 well. We really don't. We learn from the disappointments and the dropped, the dropped ditches and
Yeah.
that's what we
And
learn
I
from.
think our stories, I mean, like you were saying, like with like the this other lady that you said she was so worried to tell people that she was married twice. It's the power we give to those stories. Like it's like we all have things that have happened in our past, but if you bring it out and just casually be like, "Yeah, I was married twice. It's not a big deal." That's how people are going to address it. But if you're
Exactly.
shameful and shaking and you're hiding it and you're being secret, then there people are going to you know, pick up on that and they're going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
she's insecure about this. This is her
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
insecurity. And they're going to add more drama to it. So it's really important how you present your stories out to other people because when you give it so much power, then, it can work against you, right? If it's a
So I
negative
know,
story, if it's a
yeah,
negative
yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. Well, I know you're the interviewer and I'm the interviewee, but you have this wonderful energy, Pearl. And so what would be a vulnerable expression for you at this moment? I won't do anything with it. I'm not going to therapize you. I just would love to have us share since I'm being so
So you're saying, of
nice.
course, I mean, you can ask me. I love that because it's more interactive. You mean like a moment for me? Like, because I
Whatever,
really
wherever you would go.
I mean, I really try to like with my guests, I like to make that connection because I see there's, sometimes you see a lot of episodes and people just seem like they don't even know their guests. And it's kind of just like, let me
I
just go
know.
through a list. But it's like, I want to make that connection, even though we're through Zoom. I want you to feel like you're in my living room. We're talking, we're getting to know each other because I feel like my guests are going to, my listeners are going to pick up on that and they're going to realize this is a real conversation between two,
Right.
empowered women who are trying to inspire other people and learn from each other. So I've learned like throughout my years to really, I mean, obviously I've again, I've learned to take a lot of my stories, like it's been hard, but now I've realized a lot of my stories will actually help other people. And the more real I am and the power, like I was saying, that I give to them is what makes it. So and it's hard to be like that vulnerable, like to be open up about it. But I've tried. Like recently, I'm trying to even like online with things that are going on too. Like if I'm talking and if I'm crying or if I'm showing a moment, it's okay because people need to see
Yeah,
that this is the real me. They're going to connect better with me. And that's hard to do on a level, but once you do it, you're like, it's okay. And if I want to be judged, I'll be judged. And I'm at a point where Dr. Nikki, I don't really care anymore, which is really
yeah,
empowering, right? That's
yeah.
the moment where
So
you're like,
empowering.
this is my platform. And if people don't want to listen or they don't like it, they can go to the next person. It's okay.
There's enough podcasts around. But still, you've described the thing, but you haven't said the thing. What is something that would be vulnerable for you? So I'm always interested in, like, well, this is what I know. People teach what they need to learn. So I guess it's called strong woman, right? Or you
It's
are a
it's called
strong
female
woman,
fluence. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
female
But it's
fluence,
about
right? But I
that.
see
Yeah.
strong
Yeah.
woman
This is my
behind you.
quote.
That's your quote. And so I will assume that you needed to learn at some point how to be a stronger or a strong woman. So, what was the point at which you made that decision?
Okay, okay, that's a powerful question. So I am Persian, and as you know, with everything that's going on in the world, as for me, it was a moment of just seeing this way of the woman rights that has been suppressed for so long in Iran, and this generational trauma that I would even see here with the inequality, and it was just like it would really bothered me where I felt like, okay, what can I do as, as a woman here who has the freedom to speak and to teach and educate. And I used to be a teacher. I was like, what can I do to spread this around? Because obviously, I mean, there's inequality going on all over the world, and Iran is as its worst. But so it was just like a longing for me. And I have two girls that I said, I need to represent, I need to model, I need to educate. If I can help one woman who's listening and say, I can do this. I have the power. I believe in myself. I'm not waiting for permission anymore. No approvals. The time is now. And that was for me because I kept waiting. Like I wanted to start this podcast and it was like the time was never right. It was just so much chaos happening in my life. And you're kind of taught as a woman that your worth is based on all the sacrifices you make all your life. And that's what I knew. And so came to a point that it was like, enough. I need to love myself enough to know that the timing is now or it's never. So I guess that's my moment.
I love, yeah, great. I love the word sacrifice because anything really, it could be you're sacrificing your time right now to be here with me. You're sacrificing doing something else that maybe even felt like, oh, good, I made this appointment to have this podcast, and there's just this other possibility I could have done that, or whatever it is. It
Right,
comes up
right.
because life keeps going, right?
Yeah.
But the word sacrifice, I love the meaning of it. It's comes from the Latin sacra fice, and it means to make holy. So if this, oh, I just got a chill. So if this becomes, which is like, yes, if this becomes a holy endeavor for the two of us in this moment, we will really wave out into the community, and that one woman, the five women, the 20,000 women, whatever, will say, yeah, yeah, this is what I'm talking. I'm talking about standing up. So what are you doing right now? You're using your voice. You're expressing your truth. You're identifying there was a before this and an after this. Podcast was just one moment in your decision, an actualizing moment in your decision to represent. Your daughters inspired you. But really, the little girl in you inspires you. World events inspires you. And I think when we're trying to become more, right? And we're trying to be I think our highest and best is the place to end or to aim for. And that doesn't mean we don't screw up because we will today, tomorrow, all the time,
Right.
whatever. But when we're doing that, we want to look for what our inspiration points are so that we can keep going back to those in the moments where we feel like, oh, I'm over and out. And we all have those
Mm-hmm.
moments like, this is too hard. Or, oh, please, I'm not having an effect if we're a
Yeah.
teacher or whatever, you know. And really, my motto is that, excuse me, broken is beautiful. And so that's the deal. Where did we break? You know, what happened that led to our breaks, and then what have we done to repair? And reparation always includes doing esteemable acts. It always includes building ourselves through action. You know, like people talk about love. You know what I just found out yesterday? I think it's a very interesting thing. I found it out online actually. I do a radio show on Tuesdays, and the people that I was doing the show with said, "Did you know that today is Red Tuesday?" I said, "I did not. What does that mean?" And the woman said, "Bloodbath." I said, "I doubt it." Actually, no. Let's go somewhere else. I mean, she was being, funny. Um, because bloodbath is now a funny word. Not. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyway, she said it's because it's for the 10th of February is always red, red day because it's 4 days before Valentine's Day. And more people break up on the 10th of February than any other day of the year.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's what I said. You're kidding.
Oh my
And I looked it
goodness.
up. I love that little factoid because of course I had to mull that over because there's so much pressure to express your love. I've got to do all the things on this one love day. Really, to me, if you feel all that pressure going into Valentine's Day, you have not been doing love the rest of the time,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It's just the day where everybody's agreeing to comment on yeah, love, right?
Right.
But what about 364?
Yeah. What about the rest of the, it's so funny that you mentioned this because like my husband and we've been married for like, it's like 28 years now. 20, I don't even know at this moment, but we choose like not to really go out on Valentine's Day. We rather do something at home or we'll do something
Yeah,
that like the night before because we feel like it's so fake. Like
yeah,
everywhere we go,
yeah.
people are pretending and it's just like, it just doesn't seem real. It's like a Hallmark event and it's just, it's very pretentious.
Well, it's pretentious, and I would say the amateurs are out. The love amateurs are out on that day. We was my deceased husband and we were both recovered alcoholic addicts. So we used to say, well, we don't go out on New Year's Eve because the amateurs are out drinking and they're very dangerous. you know, they don't know how to drive, they don't know how to do anything. But anyway, yeah, it is true. But and on the other hand, I appreciate it as a conversation in the collective about
Yeah.
love. What is this? What is happening? What do I know about love? But I will maintain that people who feel pressured about that day are people who have not been practicing love actions
Yeah.
throughout the year.
I totally agree with you. I
Yeah.
do. My gosh. Okay. So there's so many things I want to cover. Let's see.
That's
You know,
why I always or I often end up returning for another
yeah, it's like a
another
part
podcast.
two, part two.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So your career path wasn't really traditional. I read here and you begin in a phone sex business. I was like, whoa, I need to ask her about this. Before becoming a therapist, how did that chapter of your life lead you toward healing work and ultimately into psychotherapy? This is so
Yeah,
interesting.
it's just a really, when I put that in the book, I thought, well, this could get me some flack. When I read the book, I thought, I got nervous while I was around publishing time because I thought, Well, they're either going to be standing or, lines around the block, or they're going to be running like hell. My regular clients now, if they read this thing, they're going to go, "What have I been listening to this whole time?" But anyway, yeah, I was going to be, since I was probably six or something, I was going to be an actor. Uh, and, my thinking in that was I'll become a world-renowned actor. I didn't say this cogently to myself, and then everybody will love me, and then, I'll feel loved finally. But so I had done a lot of work, and I'm a seeker, and I've always loved, and thank goodness, because I think that saved my life. But I've always, when I do something, I do it, like 1,000%. And so I had gone to schools and thises and that's, and I'd done acting in New York, but it wasn't exactly, back in the day when I was coming up, Charlie's Angels were the look. And, you may notice not so much here. And so I was like too ethnic, and I wasn't vanilla enough. And I was, so, oh,
Yes.
she'll only be a
It's a hard
character.
industry. Yeah, right.
It's a hard industry. And then there was this thing where everything got really ethnic. And I said, oh, I could go back. And they said, no, now you're not ethnic enough. I'm like, oh, God, I missed my window. But anyway, so I was trying to find, I was trying to always find a way to make a living while I was chasing my acting dreams. And, waitressing had gotten really tired. I got every day I go to a restaurant, I thank the lucky stars or whatever led me away from being a waiter. It's such a hard job. Anyway, so I had a lot of different kinds of jobs. I was an editor, I was this, and none of them they were jobs. And I was by the way, a terrible employee because I always knew better than everybody. Even I have never done anything. I was so arrogant. I was the most important piece of dirt in the world. So, I was very conflicted about my value. And anyway, so I'd come out to California from New York. I'd come out to California, and that's a long story. It's a bit in the book. And so I'd come out here, and I was, what am I going to do that will get me some decent money? And I said, I have this idea. Now you remember this was, in like 1980, right? 1980. So I was so ahead of the time. If only I have actualized my thoughts, I'd be a bazillionaire today and then probably be a dreadful person. But anyway, so I said, what can I do? What do I know a lot about? What's this and that? But so I thought, you know what? Well, first of all, I started this fantasy phone sex company. Now, at the time, thank you, blessings, blessings. There was no iPhone, there was no videotaping, there was no Zoom. So I ain't out there, but I started this fantasy phone. It was all on the phone, 1-800
Okay.
kind of thing. And I started this because it gave me complete leeway for timing wise. I could do it when I wanted to. I could do it from the safety of my own little apartment and all of the things. And it seemed like a really good plan. And so I found my way to how my mother was an entrepreneur, my grandmother's an entrepreneur. I'd been always an entrepreneur, so this was a natural fit for me. I knew a lot about sex, one of the benefits of having been a sex addict, and knew a lot about fantasy, one of the benefits of not wanting to live in real life. And so I put that together and I created this firm, and it did very well. I did very well financially, and it was very private. But it's not, I wasn't telling everybody I met, oh, I'm a fantasy phone sex worker. It had a little Again, it had a little grime attached to it, which I always did love coloring outside the lines.
Yes.
I just did. And I was always looking for ways to feel special, and that's not what makes me special, but I didn't know that at that time. So I was doing this thing, and as I was talking to these guys, I realized, as I said in the book, that the least important part of the fantasy phone sex was the sex. It was the least important part. what happened was we have this little, sexual, verbal sexual fantasy interaction. And then we talk and talk and talk about their loneliness, about how difficult their marriage is, about how bad
So
their
you're really
boss is
doing
treating them.
therapy.
It's really doing therapy, but I didn't know that,
Yeah.
I mean, I had, and I thought, so I told this young friend of mine, she was 19 at the time, and I said, I'm thinking about starting this uh, an phone phone therapy business because people are scared to come in. They feel
Hmm.
they this and that, and they're all over the place. I think that's a really good idea. Remember, this was 80. Better Help, which is that business, which is making a bazillion dollars, started what, 4 years ago or
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Yes. Yay.
Yeah.
Great. So I don't know if it is better help for this conversation. So anyway, she said to me, this 19-year-old, she said to me, I think it's a great idea. I think you should go back to school and get a therapy license because people are really going to want to back you and invest in the business. I said, great idea. Now, I was in my first year of sobriety and I was doing everything I could to outrun my feelings. So this was very helpful. I would run the business. I would go to self-help meetings. I would stay sober and I would go to school and then work in a clinic all at the same time. So
Wow.
who had time to feel my feelings?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
So now it's September 20th at one year, and it's my birthday, and I'm sitting in this. I was at the beginning of my training. I got an excellent clinic position, by the universe supporting me, I guess. And I'm in a session, and this guy's talking about how scary he is and his, feelings of anxiety and how he doesn't feel like he fits into the world and whatever. And, the usual. And in the middle of the session, important things or revelatory things have happened on my birthday. I got this just download. It felt like an energetic download
Hmm.
in my body. And I said, this is it. I'm not going to start a business for phone therapy. I'm going to be a therapist. This is what I've been waiting to do all this time. This is my future. And I left that session and I stopped acting class and I stopped looking for acting jobs and I started working for real to try to start my business. And by the time I had all my hours, you need 3,000 supervised hours.
Yeah.
Count up that.
Right.
That takes a minute. But especially
Wow.
when you're doing all those other things I mentioned.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh, by the time I had that, I was 5 years in and I had my business rolling. And I did everything. I did all the things to make that business successful as everything else had been. And and there I was, and I never looked back. So it was extraordinary. It was,
That's
it was,
amazing. So
it was, I
that was your
felt like my
moment,
soul.
right? That
Yeah, that
moment
was,
that you just knew
mhm.
you need to switch things around and what
I'm
this is your
telling you,
purpose.
that was a vulnerability. I was so open to being infused with truth at that moment. That was my soul's purpose. Now, a bunch of years later, I was working with a teacher that I worked with for 17 years, that I don't talk about much you can't tell everything in one book, at least my life is. But
It's a
but I
series.
worked with this series. Yeah, I worked on with this fantastic teacher for 17 years, and I was in a session with him, or in a workshop with him early on in working with him, and I had already been a therapist for a while. I was doing these things, and I came home to my husband, and I said, "The most incredible thing happened during this." He said, "What?" I said, "I realized I was born to serve." And he said, yeah. I mean, like everybody knows this about you, Nikki. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It was a soul realization.
Wow.
I was born to serve. And he said, yeah, we all know that. I said, well, I didn't.
We're
I knew
always
I
like
had
the
made a
last person, right, to figure that out. Yes.
because that it wasn't just something I was doing and loving. it was something that was deep inside of me. I could have served in a lot of ways. I could have made a beautiful garden. I could have been a chef. I could have been, it
Hmm.
doesn't, the point of the action or the job that matches the understanding is not that important, but it's just the knowing of your soul's path,
Hmm.
or what I call soul's path, the essence, the road you're essentially here to follow. Why are we here?
Here.
Why are
Yes.
we?
Yes.
And so finding that, it was, I mean, I've had so many blessings. Now, I worked hard. I don't really exactly believe in luck. My husband used to say, luck follows closely on the heels of hard work. But I do believe in blessings. I do believe if you open your heart and you open your mind and you open your intentionality, that all kinds of information will be,
Yes.
showered down upon you, which is what I call a blessing.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. And I felt the same way when I was trying to search, like what I want to do, what's my calling, and it's like looking for your why. And then when you finally realize that it is such a powerful feeling. And it's like only you know. But then when I would tell people, they're like, well, it's the same thing. Like, but yeah, this is a wonderful thing. I could totally see you doing this. I'm like, well,
Well,
okay.
so what is your why?
So my why is exactly what I was telling you to help women realize that they can live aligned and in fulfillment without waiting anymore. Because, instead of like dimming their light, shrinking, and just questioning themselves, especially, my whole mission is for women over, like in that midlife 40. And I know we all have different stories. Like you have stories, I have stories, but learning not to just live in our stories and saying, okay, I'm going to be empowered and I'm going to be strong because now I'm going to take those stories and I know how to move forward with them. That's like
Right.
that bravery, that courage to realize we all have different things instead of living in the past and being victimized, learning how to move forward and taking that step forward and saying, I have one life and I'm going to live it to the fullest.
Yeah. So if I were your mentor, teacher, whatever, I would not say that your mission is to teach women empowerment. I would say your mission is to invigorate. Wait, I had it before while you were talking. Say it again. That your mission is to uplift or to empower women, right? Is that right? That
Right.
your mission is to empower women. Your calling is to empower women. I would say your that your mission is to support isn't the right word, is to um shoot.
Lift or
It's not it's to inspire,
inspire.
to inspire, to inspire not just women, to inspire the humanity in us
Hmm.
all. That
Yes.
that is so. In other words, it's bigger.
Bigger.
You can do women, women, women. If that's your main audience.
Yeah.
That's probably always going to be your main audience. In learning circles, it's a lot. Unless it's
Right.
about working out, it's going to be everybody's. But really, you can go further.
Yes.
I don't know how long you've been doing this particular show, but you can inspire humanity, which is to me feels so big.
Yes.
Or
That
bring
feels great
bring the
and big.
cultures together, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise you're narrowing your field.
Right. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. Very good.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. You're welcome.
Now let's talk about emotional inheritance because I know like
Mm,
anything like wealth, it can be passed down, right? But it can also, so if trauma can be passed down like wealth and it can be healed and transformed, what do people need to understand about this emotional inheritance and the power to change it? Because I know you had a lot of that and a lot of that healing. So if you can talk about that more.
we're talking about this in general rather than talking so much about me because um, I am annoyed in today's world that we are so preoccupied with separating through categorization and at the same time ignoring the importance of our individual histories. And when I say individual, I'm talking cultural,
Mm-hmm.
uh, genetic, cultural, global. Where were we brought up? In what communities, right? What does your as an Iranian? I always mispronounce it. Is that correct?
That's right.
Sometimes I say I, sometimes I say you're as an Iranian woman, you have generational trauma that has come down through
Yes,
the
definitely.
matriarchy and the patriarchy, right? Generational trauma. You have generational excitements as well. Have all it goes in all directions, right? So we're so busy saying, "Oh, girl, one," or we're not one at all. Either way, oh, color doesn't matter. It does. Of course, it matters because there's a generational trauma that goes with, and like superiority or judgment, or there's all these things that are passed down. Yes, through our local families, through how they lived and what they modeled, but also again through like I work with. I'm in a place in California that I'm sure you know. It's called Burbank, and there's a lot of Armenians, and I work with a lot of Armenian culture, and the information that's in them just walking in about seizure and loss because
Mm-hmm.
they've been taken over by
Yes.
rivaling so many times. It's super destabilizing, and it has an impact on just the person sitting in front of me, you see. And so the idea is we honor and respect the differences between us. We don't use them to discard each other
Yes.
or to
Yeah.
judge each other. Wouldn't that be nice if we didn't do that? But
I
we
wish.
honor the difference. Yeah, we honor this. And, when people say to me, "I'm colorblind," don't be colorblind. Be color appreciative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because see it and love it, whatever those differences are. So my emotional inheritance included, say, the matrilineal, specifically the matrilineal line. The women are all in charge, which is also quite Jewish. But anyway, I didn't have any religious upbringing, for which I am very grateful because I got to walk my own different
Yes.
paths. But anyway, so the women are in charge. The women make it happen. The men are servants to that idea. I'm gonna make the business happen. You get to do this part of it. I run it. I'm the breadwinner. I was the breadwinner in every relationship I was ever in until now. And I mean, I have an extraordinary relationship now, unlike any of the relationships I've had throughout my life. And I've earned it. I really think I've earned it because I would not have at all been interested in a man this good and this sharing and caring before. I couldn't have tolerated it. I couldn't have let him in, but it's extraordinary. But I didn't have any of those lessons. I didn't have any of those lessons. So just by modeling, let alone by speech,
Mm-hmm.
because my mother was very clear about it. My grandmother was very clear. Uh, the idea is you got to do it all yourself. You got to do it all yourself. Okay, so that I took that message away. That was an emotional inheritance. What did I do with that? So I was, successful in pretty much everything I did to some degree, not wildly so that I could, buy 5 buildings in LA, but I was pretty successful. But at the same time, I was so busy keeping everybody away because I've got to do it myself
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't know how to allow real partnership. So I had to look at that piece because that was also passed down to me. We
Right.
were talking about the woman who didn't want to say she'd been divorced. In my family, if you weren't married 3 times, you were a black sheep. It's like- What do you mean people stay together? Never heard of such a thing. I mean, my grandmother stayed with my grandfather, but it was such a bizarre relationship. It was really not tolerable. Um, but anyway, but she was from way back generation. So the idea is, you have these messages that you get and from the world in which you live. Now, another good thing about my mother had no energy on a woman shouldn't. She had no energy on it. My grandmother didn't have any energy on it. They both passed down to me, not by speech. I barely knew my grandmother, but by example. You do what you want to do and what you think you should do, and do what you want. There are no rules. The rule
Wow.
is take it. Yeah. So I was really reasonably, and I didn't work for other people very much. I mostly worked for myself. So I was reasonably untouched by by the feminist movement and all that, because I was just doing it. I was just doing it. And so I that meant two things. It meant I already had the skills, and that also meant I was lacking some understanding about the other people who weren't brought up that way. So I had to learn that understanding. I
Hmm.
had to find a compassion for the part of me that had forbidden collaboration and cooperation. And this is to say that wherever our inheritance is, what are we doing with it?
Right.
We usually get against people. Some people get a big inheritance and they share it with their partner and they buy a great house or they put it away for their kids. Some people, make whatever they make and they give it away a lot because other people need it more than they do, or that's the way they see it. They want to help the world. And some people never let go of a penny, and physically they never do any charity, they never do any work, they never are helpful, they never give when other people need it, even if they've got it and the other person doesn't. They never do any of that. It's the same with our emotional inheritance. you know are we stingy with our
Hmm.
spirit? Are we generous? Are we kind? Are we cruel? All of those things we've learned down through the lines, and it may not be direct. We may not even know them. I've worked over the years with a lot of people who are adopted, and there's libraries of books around what happens to people who are adopted if they never meet their birth parents, if they do meet their birth parents, but just what happens in their psyche by being adopted. Even there was a great reason the girl was 15 and she
Right.
couldn't take
Right.
it. It doesn't matter. The feeling is, I was given away. I was,
Yeah.
you know. And so that's an inheritance. That's an emotional inheritance. What do you do with that? How do you spend that emotional inheritance? Do you punish everybody you meet for that? Are you, oh, please love me, please love me, please love me with that? Or are you, isn't this interesting? I want to be compassionate about this. I think I'd like to meet my mother, but I don't want to maybe I will adopt some people and give what I didn't get. I mean, whatever,
Right.
right? And it's up to us.
It's up to you what you do with that. That's amazing. You're right. We all
Yeah,
have it. Very,
we all
very
have
real.
We all have something that came from the past. We're
Yes.
not just, I landed on the planet. This is my first
By
time as a
myself.
human being.
um, Now, Dr. Nikki, I know you talk. Well, people often say like time heals all wounds. Do you believe that healing
No,
happens with time?
no, no. What heals all wounds is learning about yourself, learning what the value of the wounds are and were, learning how to not repeat the things that wound you. Time will not just do that. That's why you see people who never learned anything about themselves turning into old grouchy curmudgeons,
Yes.
or just mean people altogether, or people who are scared all the time and can never do anything because they're afraid of what will happen. They're all living in the future. People who never create a damn thing. whether it's, like I say, a beautiful rose from the garden, or a caring friendship, or a love life. People who, or a beautiful art piece. People who, you know, are just waiting for something else to magically heal us. It doesn't work. Time does not. It'd be like saying, you know, I fell, and when I fell, I got this big piece of metal in my leg, and I just put a couple band-aids on it, and I'm just gonna go on. You know what's gonna happen? It's not gonna be pretty. You're gonna end up in some serious,
Yep.
crapola if you don't have that, if you don't go to an expert or do something
Right,
to
right.
get that thing that doesn't belong in your body out.
Yeah. And your body knows. I mean, that's why I feel like there's so much like chronic pain, and then there's depression. There's all sorts of things because they've never really dealt with the pain that they've been through in life. They've just buried it thinking, "Oh, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm not going to talk
Yeah,
about it." Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you have described a period of life where you were a functional addict, right? Relying on, you said, alcohol, drugs, work, sex.
People
You seem to,
pleasing.
you seemed very successful on the outside, but
Mhm.
what do you think was the reason of this addiction, and what was it costing you beneath the surface?
Well, the reason of the addiction, well, there's a couple things. One, my parents were alcoholics and workaholics. My grandmother was a workaholic, and who knows what else. My grandfather was a sexaholic, he was a womanizer. But, so I had the role models. But besides that, so, there's a gene for addiction,
Addiction,
and
yes.
yeah, we can lean into it or lean away from it. But I'm good being a compulsive. I don't mind that. I can channel my compulsions into positive areas now. I can do more usually a week. Most people do it a month. Should I choose to do that? Sometimes I don't, but it's a choice I have. So it's not the compulsivity part. It's not a problem. It's a promise. But what I was doing was numbing. I was
Hmm.
numbing because I didn't want to feel my feelings. They were too hard. And, of course, drugs and alcohol, even, of course, today lets us feel like we fit in and everybody's drinking and, oh, it's a big celebration. Let's all get drunk. That's so much fun. Really, not so much. And it does nothing for the body, and it does nothing for the spirit, and it does nothing for the mind. No matter what people tell us, it doesn't and do anything for us. And I understand the microdosing that's so popular today. And I've been sober 43 years or something. So I haven't I haven't been engaging those things in a very long time. And all the people I'm drawn to that I think are most interesting turn out to be sober people. I don't make that, oh, are you sober? Okay, I can be your friend. No, they show up, we're hanging out, we're doing this thing. Oh, that's interesting. Because those are the people that are interesting to me, because they have a vivid life that is including their mind. There are some doctors that say that even one drink has a negative effect on your mind and can be a permanent negative effect. So that's, I'm not saying everybody in the world should be sober, you should live and be well. But if your game, your fun is drinking and drugging, then I'm over and out on that as a close friend. I won't not work with you. I won't do it, but I just know how great it is to be awake.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I think
Thank you.
that's amazing. Um, there's a part that I was reading about your Friday night ritual hate fest. And I thought, so many people have those private rituals of like that self attack that they never talk about. How did you finally recognize and help? What like tools did you help to get yourself out of it and transform?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that the Festival of Delights, the Hate Fest of Delights, was every Friday night. Now, at this point, I was sober, right? But I wasn't sane. And every Friday night, I would get my binge food, So I was off drugs and alcohol, but I was left with all these feelings. I had to do something
But
about
to do
them.
something with it, right?
So I ate. Yeah, like face them would have been good. But anyway, so I was working on things at the same time. I was talking to myself differently. I was doing, I was creating this business. I was going to 12-step meetings. I was doing all sorts of things to get better. I had been in therapy off and on for a long time, and sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. I was studying, I was working with others, so I was teaching what I needed to hear, and all of these things. And still, there was so much self-loathing, and it was so deep and so really primal. And so every Friday night, I would get these terrible food, Entenmann's cakes, and other than I had two cats, I was between men at that point, and
Yeah.
since I had to always be a man. And so I would get all this food. My cats loved this. If I was delayed in the ritual, they would, get me and they'd be walking down. I had a railroad kind of apartment and they were walking down. Yeah, yeah, no. Come on, let's get to it. So I'd go down to this little room that looked like a cave room practically, and it was a small room, and I'd turn on the TV and I'd get on the bed. Cats would be up on the bed. "Ah, this is really working for us." And I'd have all my food there and everything, and I'd start talking to myself with self like, "Oh, you're so disgusting. You're so ugly. You're stupid. No one's ever going to love you. Why are you even bothering?" And I would really say these things to myself. And then it would go on and on. So, and meanwhile, I have these other things I'm doing to positive self-type. No, you can win. You can do it. You can leave behind the old voices and whatever I was doing. And one Friday night, I was there and I had all my food and had all my stuff. The cats were there. Everyone's yay, yay. What are we doing now? And I started that conversation and I heard this voice. And the voice said, "You don't really believe this anymore." Now, the voice, I didn't think that I was being spoken to by some, magic force from somewhere. I knew it was from inside me that the
Yeah.
voice was coming. And I started laughing. And I said, "All right." And I got up and I put all the food away and I went to a 12-step meeting. Now, I would love to tell you that that was a miraculous experience. I was lifted up out of my doldrums and never again
Magically.
magically to be self-hating. Not true. I fought that self-hatred and fought it and fought it and fought it. I I talked back to the negative self-talk with positive self-talk. I was I reached out to others. I did therapy. I did all kinds of other things. Started meditating. I was doing all the things. And little by little, tiny baby step by tiny baby step, I got better. And one day, wait, a couple of decades later, I woke up and I went, "Oh my goodness, I really like and love myself." But it took, I had to match the decades of being horrifying to myself
Yeah.
with decades of being great to myself. And then I came out the other side and I like myself. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of all the things I've done, the awful and the great. And I look forward to more. I'm starting new projects. In March, I'm doing a TEDx talk, which is huge for me. I'm so excited about it. And it's been a long time coming, and I'm very excited about it. I'm excited about my memoir. I have two other books that are what happened before that are pure self-help books. I mean, I'm learning how to do new things online. And I get to laugh at myself a lot for my slowness and articulating in the technical world with action. But I feel new every day.
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
feel
I mean, that's the first step is it's a process, but it's like when you have that self-love and self-compassion for yourself, that's
yeah,
when you can really shift things for you. And I actually like with my clients, I have them like what you're saying that you were doing. It's basically like they make a list of all those negatives, self-talk, and I'm like, go in the mirror and I want you every single day, look in your eyes and just repeat, say it. I know it sounds so silly. At first they're like, what? You really want me to like look in the mirror and say, I'm stupid. I have no confidence. I'm not good enough. And I'm like, yes, do it until you realize that this is, you have the moment of truth that you sound so silly. These are not your words. These are not your beliefs. And you can,
That's right.
let go of them. And it's a process. It takes a while. But when they come to that moment, like you finally did, and then you replace it with, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing amazing. I love myself. I'm confident. It changes everything, everything.
Does. It does. That's great that you do that. And yeah, it does change everything. And the thing is, we have these old messages and we think we're telling ourselves truth and we're not. We're telling ourselves a huge lie.
Yeah, we are. We continue to do that. I mean, I have so many other questions, but to be respectful of your time, for a woman listening today who doesn't feel worthy of love or doesn't feel worthy of just them love for themselves, what would you tell her, and where should she begin to transform?
I mean, that's a big question. It depends on the person, but I guess the beginning of any transformation is to realize that you're living an old story and you're stuck in that story and that can change. And to know that you're, again, the centerpiece of your own story. And if you change your story, everything will change around you. And so, do some of whether it's Pearl's work or my work or someone else's work, but get out there and give yourself a chance to change. And I really do believe that change is a matter of choice. And you have the choice to make it different, but you have to work hard.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Well, in this episode, you have shared how trauma quietly shapes our patterns, self worth, and relationships. And while real healing requires more than just pushing through, we have explored defensiveness blocks, how it blocks intimacy, how emotional wounds can be passed down, and what is truly it takes to break free from those old cycles. You have offered practical insight of moving beyond survival mode into emotional strength, self compassion, and healthier responses to life's challenges. This conversation is really a reminder that transformation begins when you recognize your patterns, honor your healing, and reclaim your worth. Is there anything else you would like to leave our listeners with today?
It's like you don't have to do it by yourself, and you're probably not going to be able to do it by yourself because you only know what you know. You're limited by your own assumptions and predispositions and all of that. So don't be, try to find a way to reach out to people who have been on the road before you and traveled from disaster to divine experience. And there's plenty of versions of that out there, and find that one that you resonate with, or read a good book, or whatever you're going to do. But commit to yourself that, and I promise you, tomorrow does not have to be like yesterday.
Thank you. I thank you so much. All the links will be in my show notes, and you will have all the information to get in contact with Dr. Nicki and order her book as well. Thank you so much for being on Female Fluence.
Thank you so much, Pearl. You're a joy and a pleasure to talk to.
Thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Female Fluence, where we rise, reflect, and remember who we are. If something from today's episode spoke to you, share it with another woman who's ready to rise too. And before you go, download your free empowerment coaching guide at femalefluence.com. It's your next step toward living with more clarity and confidence. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at pearlmashour_femalefluence. And if you're ready for deeper support, sign up for a free discovery call. I would love to connect with you. Remember, my friends, don't just exist. Live your life fully, bravely, and in truth. I'm Pearl Mashour, and until next time, stay true, stay powerful, and stay you.